GMC guidelines, NHS Constitution, medical school councils, core attributes document. All of these things that you have to read, but they are massive documents. So in this video, I'm going to be giving you what each of these documents actually contain in a summarized way. So you are saving your time without having to read all these documents, but you still know what is contained within them, so you can go on to achieve your 4 out of 4 medicine interview offers. Hi, I'm Loveleen, a medical student at King's College London, here to help you with your interviews. Now, I completely understand how daunting and difficult interviews were, as I was in your position. But fast forward a couple of months, I went on to achieve all 4 of my offers with interview scores as high as 135 out of 140. And I'm here to help you do the same and achieve your dream of studying medicine. On my channel, I talk about all things relating to medicine, entrepreneurship and mindset. Now, to help you, I've also created loads of different resources. First up is my Aspiring Medics newsletter for completely free resources. On this, I post loads of different tips relating to the journey of getting into medicine, especially around during UCAT season and interview season, and what you can be doing to help you achieve your dream of studying medicine. Additionally, one of the key reasons that I was actually able to get all 4 of my offers was my interview document. This is an over 50-page document in which I've included all of the content that you need to know, ethical pillars, over 100 different types of questions, and also the NHS hot topics and research. If you're interested in this, make sure to check it out using the link below. Additionally, if you want more personalized support with helping you get your 4 out of 4 offers and studying medicine at your dream uni, then check out my interview course. Again, as part of this interview course, you get personalized, tailored learning given to you about all the content, learning how you should actually be structuring your interview responses, what your interviewers want from you when you're doing a med school interview, and the art of speaking and presentation, because this is so important in helping you secure your offers and get into medicine. The first document that we're going to be taking a look at is GMC's Duties of a Doctor document, or sometimes referred to as Good Medical Practice Guidelines by the General Medical Council. This has been created to help regulate not just all doctors but also medical students, and these are the expectations from both on how care should be given. Starting off with Domain 1, this includes everything relating to knowledge, skills and development. So what this section of the GMC document is actually talking about is, as a doctor and medical student, you need to strive to keep your skills as up to date as possible, so including clinical skills too and your knowledge, making sure you're staying up to date with any new developments. This is really important, so you can actually give your patients up-to-date information, and that means that patients can make more informed decisions from better healthcare outcomes. Additionally, staying on top of your skills, and another element that's mentioned here is actually taking part in research and giving it a go, and also trying new things. This will help you again to develop and learn about more of your skills. It's also really important knowing how to reflect. I've mentioned this before in many of my videos. Reflection is a really key skill that you need to develop from when you're an aspiring medic, and you'll need it all through your career as a med student and a doctor. That is because reflection is a process of looking back at something and identifying what went well, what didn't go so well, and what did you learn from it. As a doctor and as a medical student, when you're taking part in different things, you have to be able to reflect on your performance from that and look at how can you improve more, what can you do different, as again, this will help you to deliver better care to all patients. Now we're going to take a look at Domain 2, which is about patients, partnership and communication. What this domain is talking about is that as a medical student and as a doctor, you should be working with your patients, not against them or forcing treatments upon them. You should always give a patient all of the information that they need and then help them to make an informed decision. A patient has the right to disagree with you if they don't think that a certain treatment option is for them. Again, your job is to work with them and support them with their decision making by giving them all of the knowledge, not by forcing a certain decision upon them, even if you think that that is the correct option. Additionally, having good communication is important, not just to patients, so you're able to explain things in an easy and friendly manner so that patients understand, but also with your colleagues. Having good communication skills is really important when you're working in a team, especially because you're going to be working within MDTs a lot. Having that clear communication with your team members ensures that things always run smoothly. And the idea of partnership, working together with everyone in a collaborative manner, patients and colleagues, is important. Some key elements of working in partnership with patients include meeting communication needs of patients. There will be times where a patient does not speak the same language, and you have to meet the needs to be able to accommodate for this patient so they actually understand what is happening with their care. A second really key element of this is the idea of mistakes. Now, unfortunately, there will be times when mistakes are made, but in order to be really clear and open about this, you must always tell the patient. So if you've you've made a mistake and maybe it has a risk of harming patient safety, your priority first is to always address that patient safety and make sure it's not being compromised in any way. Then you need to be really clear about communicating that mistake with the patient, being open and honest. You should not be trying to cover up the mistake. Being open and honest, again, helps to maintain that doctor-patient relationship and build up that trust. Additionally, it's also important to make sure that you actually highlight this mistake to maybe colleagues or to seniors to put in place different regulations or requirements to stop this mistake from happening again. Domain 3 talks about colleagues, culture, and safety. Now, what Domain 3 is talking about is that always treat your colleagues with respect. Everyone and every healthcare professional has important knowledge and different ways of supporting each patient. So it's important that you respect each colleague's opinions and the advice that they're giving for patients. Additionally, this also shows good leadership. There will be times where you need to take leadership, but times where you need to share that and actually listen to your colleague because that is their area of expertise. Working with your colleagues and also looking out for them. This is a really important idea. As we're talking about culture and safety, you want to create a culture and an environment that is positive and that there's a support element for one another, not one where you're working against each other or any sort of negativity at all. You need to create that positive atmosphere and every person has to contribute to doing that so that there's better care for patients too. In terms of safety, it's really important that if you're ever concerned about a colleague, that you speak to them and you also support them with that and also have that insight into your own health too. If you're ever struggling with things, being able to reach out is a really important aspect and know when you're struggling. Again, linking to that reflection element to make sure you're looking after yourself and also patients. Now looking at Domain 4, which is the idea of trust and professionalism. A lot of these concepts are mentioned throughout the GMC document anyway, but this also has its own domain dedicated to it just to emphasize the importance of it. Now, as a doctor and as a medical student, you're not just a doctor whilst you're in a hospital. That identity is carried throughout with you, no matter where you go. So the way you behave and the professionalism that you carry, it's not something you just switch on and off. It's really important that you maintain that professionalism even outside of just working as a doctor and in the different ways that you present yourself, because it's really important that no patient ever feels like they're being discriminated against, even outside as you're not working too. Additionally, it's important that you're always honest with patients too, in terms of, again, any mistakes that have been made, you have that integrity. This is so important because in terms of the public perception, this is an important element as to why patients actually trust doctors. The public perception of doctors has to be that doctors are trustworthy, they're empathetic, because this means that patients are more likely to disclose any information that is needed for their care. If this happens, then that means doctors are able to make more informed decisions and also help the patient more with different healthcare outcomes and decisions because the doctor understands more about that patient's lifestyle. If a patient doesn't have a great perspective or there isn't a great public opinion on doctors because they may break confidentiality or they're worried about being judged, then what happens as a result of that is patients won't give as much information to doctors because they're worried about being judged, and then the doctor does not have the full information to help patients make informed decisions with their healthcare. This is why it's really important that even if you're not in a hospital setting or in a work setting, you still maintain that professionalism, that honesty and integrity. That was a summary of basically every single domain that is mentioned within the GMC and the expectations of the GMC for all medical students and doctors. The GMC as an organisation, they provide guidelines for doctors and medical students, and this document tells you what the expectations are, and these need to be upheld in order to make sure that there is that same standard of care across the UK. Now we're going to talk about a document called the NHS Constitution. This is published and it talks about all of the key principles that every single healthcare professional who works within the NHS needs to show to all of the patients. A lot of these principles, as there are 7 included in here, are similar to the ones we've spoken about before, but again, it's important to show that you actually understand the NHS thoroughly and you can talk about these different principles. Now, the main idea of the 7 key principles that are mentioned within the NHS Constitution specifically is the idea of putting patients first, allowing them to be involved in their care, supporting them, having good teamwork and always striving for that high quality care. The principles also talk about the idea of working together for patients, understanding that the NHS is actually constantly evolving. This is a really key idea, not just in NHS, but in medicine in general too, because there are always new developments, new changes that are happening, which could actually better support patients as well. So being involved in that constant evolution for the best quality of care is really important. And again, working together for patients, supporting them, working with them and not against them, and also basing decisions statement of clinical need and not of pay or who can pay a greater amount for different services. These are the ideas that are embodied within the NHS Constitution too, which I've summarised just now for you, so that you can actually talk about them in your interviews too, because you've been given this knowledge. And the final document that's a really good idea to make sure that you know what it's about is the Medical Schools Council Core Attributes and Values Document. This is a document which is really useful because it tells you what medical schools are actually looking from you in your interviews. So it has a list of all the different skills on it, and it talks about some of the key things that every doctor and medical student should be striving to show in order to give that good high quality care to patients. Again, if you've watched my introductory video, this is a document that I talk about in there too, so we're going to be summarising that now. Is the idea of knowledge, skills and performance. What this means is you have to show genuine commitment and interest and motivation to medicine. So in your interview questions, anytime you're asked about why medicine, what was the reason that you pursued it, any questions asking about motivation, what medical schools are looking for is a genuine commitment that you are showing towards the career, and not just for reasons such as because it's high paying or because I just chose it. It has to be something that is well reasoned and well thought out. They want to see your decision making process as to why you decided to commit to medicine, and the idea of lifelong learning. If you've chosen to study medicine, the idea of knowledge and developing your lifelong learning is something that's really important. So some of the key skills that you need to be showing is commitment, resilience, and a commitment to the career and lifelong learning and the idea of research. Some more key skills that professionals need is having a good work-life balance and being able to problem solve. A lot of the time, medicine can be demanding and you have a lot of commitments that you have to work with. You have to be able to manage your time well, have good organizational ability, and also problem solving, because a lot of your time as a student or as a doctor, you'll be faced with difficult situations that maybe you haven't seen before. So having that good problem solving skills and also that resilience again is really important to help you becoming a good medical student and doctor. The next really important idea to help you show that you're a good doctor or a good medical student is the idea of partnership. Now, you need to be able to have good communication skills and show that you're able to communicate ideas effectively, that you have good presenting skills, and that you're able to work within a team. A lot of the time as a doctor, you will be working with MDTs and a lot of other healthcare professionals. You have to know when is it a good time to take leadership, when is it time to let somebody else take over for leadership and follow their guidance and their roles. So it's really important to know that distinction, and the way you can show that again is through your experience. And finally, you have to be able to show the idea of honesty and trust. If you've ever been in a difficult situation before, how have you managed to cope with that? If you ever are faced in a difficult situation as a medical student, as a doctor, how will you cope with that and make sure you're helping everybody and all the parties that are involved in that situation? The ideas of professionalism, trust, honesty, integrity are key to the career of medicine. This knowledge is really important that you can use this in your medical school interviews now if you get a question for it, or just to show that you've done some extra reading. If you want to have a greater understanding into medicine interviews, like learning the ethical principles, learning different NHS hot topics, or just having a really strong understanding into medicine interviews so you can get your 4 out of 4 offers, make sure to check out the rest of my channel, as I have an interview detailing every part of the content that you need to know.